What's going on, people? Welcome to the match preview. It is West Ham, our next opponents, this time at Selhurst Park. Disappointing defeat against Brentford. Some people acting like the world has ended, but we are back. It's only the second game of the season. I'm joined by Hambo, Patrick, and AJ here to discuss that defeat. What can we improve on and more? As always, please hit the like button if you do enjoy it. And most importantly, get involved in the conversation by letting us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Gents, how are we doing? There's a lot of optimism going into the new season. And after that defeat, I saw a lot of meltdown on social media. Were any of you part of the meltdown, or are we still calm? Are we looking forward to West Ham? How are you feeling, Hambo?
You know, I wasn't part of the meltdown. We did the match review show, and there were things that we were frustrated with, I think. But one game into a season, we talked about it all, didn't we? We like the spine of the team wasn't really training together. It's going to take us a few games to get up to speed. So there were some really good things that we saw against Brentford. And look, it's a game you still feel we shouldn't have lost. But it's just one of them. It's one of those games that could have gone either way. Definitely some stuff to work on. But I don't know about you. The thing that I feel is different is I have the confidence that the manager knows exactly what was wrong. He would have told the players exactly what they didn't do. I think Steve Parish was on TalkSport this week, and he was talking about one of the strengths that Glasner has is the detail that things that the fans say and want dealing with. He said he didn't name any past managers, but I know who he meant when he said those managers would be dismissive of certain concerns, if you like, around some of the tactics, some of the use of a squad, some of the sort of finer details, if you like. And I believe Glasner would have looked at that game and gone, we didn't defend well enough. There's both individual and team problems there in terms of the shape and the cover. And certain players didn't cover themselves in glory and going to have to work hard to either stay in the team or keep others at bay. So, we need to shoot more. We need to create more meaningful chances, and we certainly need to defend better. But other than that, it wasn't a terrible game. I wasn't bored at any point. I felt we a good possession. So I'm all right.
Yeah. AJ, how was sunny Cyprus? Did you manage to watch Palace there, or did you avoid the Brentford game?
I was actually back by the time Palace kicked off, but there was no meltdown. Cyprus is beautiful country. You know what? We had the ball in the back of the net 3 times, and we had some very somewhat dubious decisions from a new official in the league. And that was us at not really even first or second gear. So I think once we get ourselves up and running and we get a bit of squad cohesion going into the next few games, I'm not worried. I don't think there's anything to be too concerned about there. Don't get me wrong, if it was like 5 or 6 games in and we were still sort of lacking or not really seeing any kind of level of progression, then I'd be in a different sort of mindset. But I think we just need to chill for a minute. I would like to see some signings, but in terms of what I saw on the pitch, I don't have anything that I'm too worried about. I was a bit annoyed that we didn't look prepped, but I think some of the players were naturally fatigued from the Euros, and this squad kind of was patchily put together due to the fact that some players would have had 2 weeks off, some players would have been there all of pre-season, and then to just sort of try and throw them all together, you can see that a lot of the players weren't up to speed and not up to par. That will come together in the next few weeks, so I'm not fussed about that.
Yeah, Patrick, I speak to you enough to know that you've had a bad day at golf. How bad was it? Couple bogeys and handicaps and -2s and 4s. What was it like? I know it wasn't a good day for you playing golf. You played golf, right?
I did play today, yes.
Yeah.
I played well.
How was it?
With I had a good time with some friends. But when you talk about golf, it's like you're talking about a different language. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know if you don't know the single. It's like your knowledge of football is the same as your knowledge about golf. You know nothing about it.
No research.
The fact,
none.
I mean, the fact
just
that
words, just phrases. That's all you know.
The fact that I've asked you how golf was and you said I've had a good time with friends just shows you that you got beat 3-0. But it's fine. I guess you enjoyed it. It was a good day out. Good day out with your friends. But yeah, Oliver Glasner. What was that, Hambo?
I hate when I lose 3-0 at golf.
I'm going to get into golf, and the day I get into golf, it's going to be incredible. I can't wait for the day. It's going to happen.
You've
naturally.
not got
It's
the
gonna happen
temperament for golf, but I'll let Patrick talk now.
naturally. Yeah.
He wouldn't let me talk,
Patrick.
you know. He just mentioned about golf. Wouldn't let me talk about how I feel about the match or Palace. Nothing. Just straight to his own. He's very selfish. Very selfish. But go ahead. Man.
Wow.
You're the
accused of
host.
stuff, you know.
Host.
This is just what happens. I just get accused of everything. But how are you, Patrick? How are you?
I'm fine. Regarding Palace, I want to just talk about a few points that Hambo mentioned because we're talking about Palace preview. Is this a preview show? It is, right? Or is it golf?
Yeah, it is a preview show. It's also a review of your golf sessions every week. And it is fun to catch up with your defeats.
Okay. So, in previous management, I would have been very upset at that 1-0 loss because I've been very bored and then very frustrated. But like Hambo said, I'm not worried about the manager. The manager knows exactly what he wants to do. Hambo mentioned about attention to detail. I watched that interview with Steve Parish. One thing I'll mention is the one about Michael Olise. He said last year, because Parish said he was speaking to Michael Olise actually in the shower and mentioned to him, whenever he cuts it from the left, he always goes to the far post.
Sorry, we cannot let that slide.
That's an exact quote. That's an exact quote.
Sorry.
Am I right, Hambo?
Hold up. Hold up.
In the shower.
That sounds a little bit sus.
Listen, don't
I don't know, but if I was the owner, interesting decision. I guess, you know, you have to catch your players wherever they are. So,
like first of all, it was.
Let me diplomatically clear up. Yeah, while we're on the subject, is we celebrate all walks of life here at Back of the Nest. So
100%.
100%.
So with that being said, please continue.
I'm just more curious about the fact that how they end up in that situation. That's interesting. You know,
how are you?
Hangover.
How are you picturing Glasner and Olise talking in the shower? Are you like? Do you think at one of their houses?
Wait, was it Glasner or was it Steve Parish in the shower?
Steve Parish is relaying a story about Glasner.
Right, about
Steve Parish.
That makes him.
To be clear,
I was confused.
Steve Parish. I can't say for certain that he was never been in the shower with Michael Olise, but this story is not about.
I'm not saying that, by the way.
No, but you can't say that.
Wait, Patrick, are you saying he was standing there with like a bottle of Radox or something like that?
May I continue?
While he was washing his dreads, he was like standing there with a Radox and just.
I was confused. That makes sense.
May I continue?
A bit more sense, anyways.
Attention to detail. He was speaking to Michael Olise. Where he was speaking to him is irrelevant to the story.
No, it's irrelevant, but it's also relevant as well. It's a bit, you know, it gives us a bit of an insight into.
You made it relevant because of the way that your mind thinks. It's actually irrelevant. The point was he noticed that, which is true of most players, cutting from the right with the left foot, they always go to the far post. He said to him, "Why don't you try to go to the near post? You'll probably catch the keeper off guard." He caught Onana off guard a United game, and which is the reason why he ran to him and gave him that hug. And people thought, "Oh, he loves Glasgow." He doesn't necessarily love Glasgow. They just wanted to say to him, "You were correct." So the point being, now we're back on the off the shower talk, is that his attention to detail is remarkable. I'm not worried about that game on Sunday. I'm really not. Did I want to win the game or get a point? Yes, of course. But as someone said before, had the ball back in net 3 times, you play well enough, players weren't there, etc. If this continues for 4 or 5 games, I'll probably get a little bit more concerned. But I'm really very, very happy with the manager. I haven't been as happy with the manager in a very long time. I just think that he's the right manager for these set of players, and he showed it last season. So I'm not really that bothered.
I think there's similarities there in terms of what we saw with Eze, I guess, on the weekend, talking about going for the front post, catching the keeper off guard, because I mean that's literally what he done, and he was wrongfully overruled from that goal from the referee. But did anything go wrong apart from the referee? What was it about the performance? Are we all happy with the performance against Brentford, Hambo, or do you think there's certain areas of the game maybe you expected a bit better? For me, I was upset over the referee, and also I don't know why I can't get over it. I need to get over it. But the Edward decision, the offside decision, I just think that's criminal. I genuinely can't get over that. But yeah.
No, like if you're considering, like, you know, could we have played better? Yeah, absolutely we could, right? And I don't want to potentially, specifically sort of go through the team and talk about how each individual player did or anything like that, because I don't think there's too much value in it at this stage. But yeah, there were players who played well beneath a standard that they're capable of. But we have reasons for it. So it's really hard to say, like, I can't say that I was happy with how we performed entirely, because I wasn't, because we didn't get anything from the game. But I was really happy that for the spells that we did play well, we had them camped in their own half. We were dominating the ball. We were passing it, controlling the game. I think what happened that was disappointing was that we allowed ourselves to consistently get broken against, and we didn't have the intelligence on the pitch to react. And you can tell the coaching staff too were frustrated with that. With the players that they tried to change, they tried to get the players whose legs were a bit heavier off the pitch and get them freshened up. They tried a few different things, but nothing really worked to get us kind of creating more and getting more chances to get either ahead or back in the game later on. So, there's a few things that failed. I felt very sorry for Sarr coming on when he did on 83 minutes and touching the ball twice. I think, he's gonna. There's a few people who aren't sure about why we signed him, and he's going to get the constant he's Elise's replacement thing, as is Kamada, which we did, to be fair, on the match review show, and both of them have been signed as to play in that role potentially, with Sarr also covering the right wing back. So we're going to get constant comparisons with them, and it's totally unfair. It was unfair of me to talk about it in the match report show, the match review show. So, we've got, as I said before, we got a long way before I think we're firing on all cylinders, and our top players need a few games, and in particular Wharton, which I'm sure, Patrick, I'll let you relay it later on, the Wharton story from that same interview with Parrish, talking about how we signed, like the process of signing him, just incredible. Amazing. If you haven't heard it, wasn't it?
Yeah, amazing stuff.
Yeah, look, you have been talking about a few games now, Hambo. So looking ahead to the West Ham game, are we concerned as a group, and that includes, Patrick, AJ, feel free to jump in, about this game coming a bit too quick then, if we think that the squad is not ready? No one's concerned? That's great.
Well, yes and no, because the reality of the situation is, yes, we need the games in thick and fast so we can get ourselves back up to speed and the manager can implement his ideas faster. But that being said, I'm sure we're going to get onto that momentarily, but West Ham weren't exactly at their best either, and they've spent a lot more money and had a more impressive window on paper. So they kind of looked a little bit mismatched on their pitch when I watched them Saturday against Villa. So they're also in the same boat as us, to be fair. It's a case of every team in the league that really isn't on it or hasn't put in enough time is going to be in the same boat as us. So in a way, I kind of want the games to come thick and fast. They have to. It's the only way we're going to get things back up to speed.
And to add to that, I think that, obviously you play who you have to play. Playing West Ham isn't ideal, but they do have 8 new signings, spent £130 million on new players, have a brand new manager. We have a manager that's been in there longer. It's a home match. We haven't lost to them since 2022. So, I mean, is it ideal? Maybe not, but I can't think of a better team to play than West Ham. Are they a decent team? I think they're going to be fine. Top 8 at least, I would think, with the signings that they made. But that doesn't mean that I'm afraid to play them on this weekend. Having said that, again, you got to play. And I think that another week of training with most of the players that were away, blah, 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 being back, I think we'll be just fine on this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I'm not saying we might be at 100%, but even if we're at 90 to 80%, around that figure, if some of these players perform better with the fitness going up, hopefully with a week of training as well, I think we've got enough in this side. And the performance wasn't that bad against Brentford. It wasn't that bad, but there were some players that have been singled out, especially in defense with, to be fair, it was all 3 of them, Richards, Andersen and Gay, for various different reasons. Do we change any of them defenders, Hambo, going into this game, or do you keep with the same defense? I think the main conversation right now is more with Richards being potentially changed for the likes of Riyadh because I don't think you drop Gahey, or maybe you might do because there's Newcastle still knocking on the door, so we don't know the situation with that. But would you change the defense after what you saw?
I don't think so. I think you do have to think about it a little bit. I think Richards, interestingly, looked a little sluggish. I felt at times in the game, in the opening match against Brentford. But I think a lot of that comes from just that uncertainty at times of because again, like Brentford were playing us well. They were overloading at pace on the flanks, and I think he just suffered a little bit with uncertainty as to whether to go out to the player and try and, because he's basically making a decision to go out and try and cover two players, or do you just kind of leave him out there and cover the danger once the ball comes in? And I think he got caught in two minds a little bit, but I think the same thing happened on the other flank to Gay. So I don't think you can really say anyone played bad enough to be dropped out of the squad. I think Riyad's time will come, but I don't think it's yet. I think, maybe he'll start the cup game or something like that and just gradually bring him into play. But like you say, transfer window might change that for you. But I think the defense, it's much more about, it's not necessarily about the three centre backs either. It's really about how the midfield and wing backs are kind of interacting and covering their defensive duties first and foremost, and how we're going to be able to kind of drop into a more compact shape than we had. Reading the kind of clues and the comments from Glasner, that's what he wanted to see against Brentford. So he would have worked to that. But West Ham are a different proposition, and of all the signings that they made, I think Somerville worries me the most. He's a player we had an eye on for a long time. Got real pace and trickery at times. He's very direct too, and I think that's a big danger for us on that flank. He's going to be faced up against sort of the Munoz Richards kind of side of the pitch. So I think that's a key battle for the game.
I spoke to Dan Lawless from West Ham Fan TV and Lawless Live just before we started recording this, and he did ask me about who worries me the most at West Ham. But for me, I don't think there's a single player that really worries me. You did mention about Somerville, and I did say that is a very good signing because they've got Kudus down that side as well, which I expect him to start. But I have faith in the likes of Munoz and Mitchell to try and stop Bowen and Kudus. So I don't think we should struggle massively in that area. But I still go with the same defense. I go with the same defense. But an interesting point you mentioned, Hambo, is the midfield. Decore came off the bench. He looked good coming off the bench. AJ, in this game, do we finally see Decore starting with Wharton, or do you go with Hughes, who hasn't really had that many bad performances under Glasner? He's definitely improved.
I would actually keep Hughes in the squad for now and maybe bring on Decore earlier and then eventually bring him into the starting lineup. I did see him when he came on as a sub, but actually I'm a little bit indifferent. There was a bit of sluggish performance out of him slightly. He wasn't amazing. There was a couple of times where he kind of lost or missed the sort of opportunity to get a proper tackle on. And in a game where it's Wissa and Mbrono, who, let's be honest, are very, very lethal attackers for Brentford. Against a team like West Ham, you're going to have Kudos, you're going to have Bowen, you're going to have Antonio, who is a powerhouse coming through. I think Will Hughes still, as it stands, warrants keeping his place in the team. And then maybe bring the Corey on a little bit earlier and then gradually build him to it. There's no need to rush. Hughes is competent enough to stay in there with Wharton, and then let's just gradually get the Corey back into the talk and then get him back into the starting lineup in a few games in. I'm ready to risk bringing him in after such a crazy long-term injury that he had last season.
I don't know. Look, if he's fit to start, then I would start him. But of course, I wouldn't risk him. So that, of course, depends on that situation in particular. But Patrick, just another player that I do want to touch on. There's a lot of players. We've done a player ratings, we've done a match reaction, so we already spoke about some of these players. It's Kamada. A lot of people wrote him off straight away after that Brentford game. I'm shocked. But him, second game against West Ham, funny enough, Lawless did say that he was a player that he actually wanted West Ham to sign at a certain point because West Ham know him in the Europa League. He beat them in the Europa League under Glasner's Frankfurt side. and he did say that he's a very good player. Is the eyes all on him, even going into this game, because of the fact that we've lost Elise and there's a lot of talk about him being, his replacement? Do you think it's a bit unfair, the pressure that's added on him from such an early stage?
The pressure is ridiculous, or not the pressure, the negativity around him is ridiculous. I mean, I thought he played fine on a Sunday. I don't know what people expect him to do in his first match in the Premier League. Again, I'll say, like I said in the play rings, how did Elise do in his first game? I mean, I don't know what people expect for him to do the first game. I saw a stat online today. He and Mitchell created 2 big chances in the match. That was top 10 out of any player, not in the top 6. So they created a lot. He created chances. We just didn't put them away. So I don't know what else people wanted to do. I think in Glasner's system, and then no one knows it better than Kamada does, having played for him for 2 years at Eintracht. He's going to be just fine. He's right-footed, which is the only issue I have. But in Glasner's system at Eintracht, he had 2 right-footed number 10s, and they were fine. He has 2 right-footed number 10s now. His idea is to form a box in the midfield with Eze and Kamada playing narrowly with Wharton and Hughes, and they form box midfield to create chances and then get the ball to the Mateta or wide to the wing backs. It's one game. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. I don't think Kamada is going to be an issue at all. No, he didn't score a goal his first game. He didn't have an assist, but I thought he played well. He created a great chance. The chance that Mateta, when he flopped in the box, that was Kamada's pass. It wasn't a great pass. That was Kamada who made that pass to Mateta. Mateta, with a better ball, probably scores right before the half ends. So I don't understand. I think he played just fine. And I don't think he'll only get better. He'll only get better the more he plays. So just going back to your point before about the midfield, I'm going to disagree with AJ. Unless Doucouré is not 100% fit, I have to start Doucouré. I think we've forgotten how good Doucouré is. And he's right-footed. He adds balance. He breaks the lines better than Hughes does. He's a better tackler. He and Wharton are going to create a ridiculously good dual pivot system in the midfield. I 100%. If Doucouré is a fit, for me, he has to start now. If he's not fit, then he doesn't start. And I like Hughes. Don't get me wrong. I got no problem with Hughes, but I'm telling you right now, he's not Cheikh Doucouré. Cheikh Doucouré was linked with Liverpool at £100 million last season. Hughes has never been rated that highly. He was a very good player at Derby. So I don't know. But again, I get why people want to keep Hughes in there. But for me, it's got to be Doucouré all day on. Because I just think that gives us another passer in that midfield, another player that allows one little more freedom to create. I just think it's a no-brainer. But again, we'll see what happens on Saturday.
Yeah, let us know in the comment section down below what side you on, Patrick or Team AJ. For me, I'll be Team D. They're both wrong, but if you want to pick a side, you can do so. You have all the right. Comments won't be removed. Don't worry about that. They both know a bit of football, but if you want all the knowledge, then look at top left. Anyways,
I don't have the ability to move stuff around. I'm logged in on a different account. Oh well.
Is that mine? If you have the ability, look at
there we go.
Of the screen. Which was Patrick, and now here I am. Anyways, whoa. I did not expect that. I was now moving to the top left of the screen. All right. Stabilize. Calmer. Let's all have a bit of composure. Let's talk about score predictions. I did say 2-1 Palace, and what happened? 2-1 Brentford. I'll be honest. The way that I get over this Brentford game is if I fix my screen. Because this screen is always going to remind me of Brentford, because it happened literally a second into the Brentford game. My camera fell on my laptop, and I've got half a screen. So Thomas Frank, you can do one. Okay. Now, Mbemo, this is your fault. All right, let me start off with my score prediction. I'm going to go for 2-1 again. Please don't let it be 2-1 West Ham this time around. I do think at home, with the fans behind the team, and I'm expecting a reaction from the players, and I don't think it was that bad. It wasn't that bad facing West Ham. Facing Brentford away from home. As AJ mentioned, we have, put the ball behind the net 3 times. So, it would just tight margins and the referee being against us, as well as one or two things that we can improve on. But I think we can do that in this game, and I think we can get a result. But let's go around. Hambo, for you, can we bounce back?
I certainly hope so. We've just got to keep one eye on the ex-Palace thing, haven't we? We've got
Wan-Bissaka,
Froderingham in goal.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
33. Where did the time go? But yeah, they've got Foderingham in goal, and obviously they've signed Wan-Bissaka as well. It's been an interesting matchup on that flank, isn't it? Tiger trying to get round AWB. But yeah, I'm always a bit
if he starts.
I reckon he will.
Point.
There's the talks are that he starts, but check out the opposition preview, of course, with Dan Lawless.
Oh yeah.
But you know, at the moment, I kind of agree with what you were saying earlier, that because they've made the signings that they've made, and the team still has a lot of work to gel, there's nothing really to fear there. I don't think. I think they were quite poor against Villa. And they've just got a lot of work to do, like us. So it's going to be two teams who are sort of struggling to kind of find a bit of rhythm, and I hope we can win it. I'm going to go with a draw. I think, and I think it's going to. I think 1-1 is going to be my prediction. But I sincerely hope that we get the win and kickstart the season.
Yeah, we've got Chelsea after this, Patrick, which is not going to be an easy game. So ideally, a win here would be nice. For you, are you going for a draw, a win, a loss?
Well, I don't want to forget the fact we did beat them to win the Stateside Cup in America. So that's obviously different players, different teams, but same managers. So that was important. Our last game against them, we beat them 5-2. There was a 1-1. We beat them 4-3. And there's and there's the 2-1 win at West Ham when Elise scored that goal. Usually high-scoring games, especially at Selhurst Park. I mean, some mad corner kicks going in off, in that 4-3 game. I'm going to go, because of the fact you mentioned about the Chelsea game and need to get something out of it, I'm actually going to go with a win. I'm going to go 3-2 Palace.
3-2. We're still, I think we're all agreeing on the defense maybe struggling one more time, potentially. Well, no one said a clean sheet so far. AJ, surely, come on. Palace unbeaten. You can't now say Palace are going to be losing this game.
No, we'll be unbeaten, but I think it's going to. I agree with a lot of the points that Hambo was saying. I think that both of the teams are in the same boat. It's just they're from different scales. I think the problem is West Ham are just figuring out how to fit all those players in there. And with us, we're on the other side where it's like, okay, well, what can we put together with the squad we've got, sort of minus a magical left-footed Frenchman? So I'm going to go with 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1. Fair enough. We've got 2 draws. We've got 2 wins. Let us know your score predictions in the comment section down below. But before we do go, Hambo, you have to go and tell us that Wharton story.
Yeah, or I might let Patrick tell it because he might remember it better than I do. He seems to remember the actual words rather than what my brain does. But yeah, I think that because I teased the Wharton story, it'd be really mean to end the show without mentioning what was actually said. Do you want to take it, Patrick?
I'll try, and you can fill in the gaps if I miss anything.
Yeah.
So Steve Parish said that when we had Roy Hodgson, they felt one of the analysts or scouts said we need a player in the midfield that can pass the ball, progressive pass. And we didn't have that player. So we had scouted Wharton at the Chelsea match. And somebody said to Parish said, well, who can we sign? And the analyst just said, sign Wharton, Adam Wharton. And everybody says, who's Adam Wharton? They didn't know who he was. So they decided that they would scout him. And apparently, Steve Parish actually does watch tapes. He was given a tape of Adam Wharton, which he apparently, we're in an age of computers, DVDs, and Steve Parish is watching tapes of play, which is very strange.
It's not, I don't think he actually got a tape in his house. I think he watches it online. Like
He did say tapes. He did say tapes.
Yeah.
He did say tapes.
Yeah, but
unless he's just old school
online.
And he insists on tapes online. DR, it's not 33. We're not in the magic future.
No. I mean clips. You mean watching clips online? Like he calls it tapes because it's old school.
Anyway, right.
May I add on that story? Is Steve Parish not a millionaire as a result of his media history? So I'm pretty sure he can differentiate between YouTube and tapes.
He did say tape. He was insisted it was a tape. I think it was funny too. I'm sure you're talking about YouTube, obviously YouTube compilations, but
No, I'm sorry. He's not going and watching Adam Wharton, the next Pirlo highlights on YouTube and signing players like that. I think what he means is the scout probably sent them clips and he's watching the clips. I don't think he's watching YouTube compilation videos.
I agree.
A 15-year-old has
clearly said on TalkSport, he clearly said the word tapes. He said it more
Yeah,
than
okay,
once. He
but
said, I want
I
the
don't think.
Yeah.
Okay, but he's.
I
But
think
he's
we're.
great.
I'm going to be honest. We're focusing on the
Okay.
wrong thing, aren't we?
The fact that they didn't know who Adam Wharton was, they decided that he wanted to sign him.
Yeah.
The scout basically said, out of like nowhere, sign Adam Wharton, and no one knew who he was. And then they signed him was to me an amazing, because you would think that, you know, as we all talk about how this Dougie effect and how great Dougie is. And I'm not saying Dougie, and then he said that Dougie went and Dougie spoke to the family, blah, blah, all the groundwork. But the point was that one analyst just said out of nowhere, sign Adam Wharton. And it was like, who's he? And then they did the scout because they said like no one really knew who he was. So for me, it's an amazing story that clearly one of our best players was signed because an analyst said, you need to go sign this kid, because he knew that for us to be a better club. And also, by the way, he also mentioned that they were looking at Glasner, and they knew that Glasner wouldn't be able to play in the midfield that we had before because no one in our midfield could pass the ball, which, by the way, was very true. Besides check the chorus, so that was it. So anyway, miss anything?
That was the kind of key detail. I might have to watch it again because it's one of those things you watch and you think, did I get the right end of that? But you know, to me, the sequence I thought was so they're talking in a room about the fact that they've had words with Glasner about coming in, so they've been studying his game.
That's
haven't they?
true. And
like the thought was, we need a passer in the middle, wasn't it? That was the phrase.
Yeah.
So then this analyst is like, just sign Adam Wharton. So he's like, but what I liked was Steve Parrish's comment when he'd seen the tapes, the Betamax, the VHS. When he'd seen those, right? He said he phoned up Dougie and he said, what I don't understand is what I don't understand. That was his phrase. He's like, why is nobody in? Why is no one in for this kid? Like, what is it? Is every other game he has a stinker? Is every other that was his phrasing, I think. And I thought that was the thing that was most eye-opening, because isn't that the reaction that we've all had, which was we've paid 20 million for Adam Wharton. Why? He's not going to play. Why have we done that? We've got, that's up there with signing 3 goalkeepers for no reason, like, and spending our transfer budget on Henderson when we had Johnston. But then you suddenly watched him, and like in the first game, even though he had some real problems against Brighton because the pace was a hell of a lot and he was thrown in there, you're still looking at him thinking, oh, okay, he's got a hell of a lot of talent. And then every game you're just like, my God, why did we get him? Why has nobody else spent their money? And I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's good.
And want to add one more thing, by the way, just to be clear, he was not bought for Roy Hodgson, though he was under Hodgson for Brighton.
Yeah,
he was bought specifically for Oliver Glasner. So let's keep that clear. We have that misconception that he was bought for Hodgson blow. No, he was definitely bought for Oliver Glasner.
But that proves, doesn't it? Proves that you don't buy players for no reason.
We've got a massive bomb, which we're going to talk about Palace news. Andersen seems like he's leaving the club. So that's just dropped whilst recording this preview.
Really?
Yep, a agreement has been
reached. Is that a D bomb or a
Ornstein?
Bad bomb or on bomb?
Ornstein. 30 million £, including add-ons.
20 minutes ago, agreed.
So we're gonna have to wrap this up because I'm gonna do a live show. It's gonna be guns blazing.
So Lacroix is coming in then, isn't he? Lacroix, is it? I can't remember.
Yeah,
his name.
exactly. Yeah,
he'll be in.
Awesome. Wow. Look, people, you can, if you add things together, you can know exactly what time we recorded this.
All I'm saying is, all of a sudden I start jumping back on stream and things start happening again. I'm just saying.
We have to be there. We have to be there. There's no rest. But look, if you have enjoyed this, leave a like, subscribe, check out the opposition preview. You're probably speaking to me from the future, so you probably watch the Palace news episode about Andersen joining Fulham, because this will be posted after that. So to everyone that's in the future, it's good that you're still alive, doing well. Hopefully we'll see you on the weekend. That's even more in the future against West Ham with the live watch along, with the match reaction and the player ratings, which will be even further in the future, the player ratings, because that will be after the live match reaction. So wherever you are in the future, we'll catch up with you all soon. That's my match preview. Thanks to everyone who's watched this. Adios.